Everyone tells you to wait until you feel motivated. That's the reason you haven't started yet. And it's also the reason you never will. Because motivation isn't something you wait for. It's something that shows up after you've already started. But nobody tells you that. So you keep waiting. And waiting feels like patience, but it's actually just quitting in slow motion. Here's what that looks like from the inside. You open the app, close it. You write one sentence, delete it. You tell yourself tomorrow, when you're in the right headspace. But the right headspace never comes on its own. It's built, not found. And to understand how, you need to see what happens to someone who finally stops waiting. Picture someone stuck in the exact same loop you're in right now. Every Sunday night, a new plan. Every Wednesday, the plan is dead. Not because they're lazy, because they were waiting for a feeling that was never going to arrive on schedule. This had been happening for almost 2 years. Different goal each time, same ending every time. One night, scrolling through people who seemed to have it figured out, something shifted. Not a burst of inspiration, just a quiet, uncomfortable thought. What if motivation was never the missing piece? What if it was the excuse? That thought didn't feel good, but it didn't go away either. And that's where the real change started. Not with hype, with honesty. The first principle was this. Start before you're ready, because ready is a myth that keeps you frozen. So the very next morning, before the mind could talk its way out of it, the smallest possible version of the task got done. 2 minutes. That's it. Not because 2 minutes changes anything on its own, but because starting is the only thing motivation was ever supposed to do. And once you remove the requirement to feel like it, something strange happens. You just do it anyway. And doing it anyway is the entire skill. Nobody warns you that the skill is that small, that it was never about grand willpower. Just 2 minutes, repeated on purpose. The second principle was tracking action, not emotion. Feelings lie constantly. Some days you'll feel unstoppable and do nothing. Other days you'll feel like garbage and get more done than you have in weeks. So instead of asking, do I feel motivated? The question became, did I show up? A single check mark. Nothing more. No journaling about feelings, no waiting for clarity. Just a mark on a page. And after 2 weeks, the page told a story the mood never could. Consistency was happening whether or not it felt good, which meant the whole "I need motivation first" belief was already falling apart. And once a belief like that cracks, it doesn't come back the same way. The third principle was removing the decision entirely. Every choice you have to make in the moment is a chance to talk yourself out of it. So the gym clothes got laid out the night before. The laptop stayed open to the exact page needed the next morning. The phone got left in another room before work started. None of this required discipline. It required design. Because willpower runs out by 3 p.m., but a system doesn't care what time it is. And once the environment did the deciding, the mind stopped fighting itself every single morning. The fight had simply been engineered out of the equation. The fourth principle was tolerating the boring middle, because that's where almost everyone quits. Week 1 feels exciting. Week 4 feels like nothing is happening. No visible change, no praise, no proof it's working. This is exactly where the story usually ends for most people. But here, instead of quitting, the boredom got treated as information, not a warning sign. It meant the easy dopamine phase was over, and the real work had started. And the real work is always boring right before it becomes undeniable. Nobody posts about week 4. That's exactly why it matters more than any other week. The fifth principle was identity over outcome. Instead of chasing a result, the goal became becoming a certain kind of person. Not, I want to get fit. Instead, I'm someone who trains, whether or not I feel like it today. That single shift changed everything. Because outcomes can disappoint you, but identity doesn't need proof from the outside world. It just needs one more day of evidence. And every small action became evidence, stacking quietly, invisible from the outside, but very real on the inside. The version of them from a year ago wouldn't have recognized this version's mornings. The sixth principle was expecting the collapse and planning for it anyway. Around week 6, everything fell apart for 2 days straight. Missed the gym, missed the work. Old excuses came flooding back louder than ever. But here's the difference. Instead of treating those 2 days as proof that the whole thing failed, they became just 2 days. The plan wasn't never miss. The plan was never miss twice. And that one rule was the difference between quitting completely and just continuing, slightly behind schedule. Nobody talks about that rule. Everyone acts like the people who win just never fall down. By month 3, something had quietly changed. The urge to wait for the right mood was gone, because the system didn't ask for a mood anymore. It just asked for a check mark. By month 6, the results other people had been chasing with hype and countdown timers and new year, new me energy had just arrived, not from a burst of motivation, from hundreds of unremarkable, unmotivated Tuesdays where the work happened anyway. And somewhere in those Tuesdays, without any single dramatic moment, the person who used to wait had quietly disappeared. So here's the truth nobody puts in a caption. Motivation was never missing. It was never the requirement in the first place. The people who have it aren't feeling something you don't. They just stopped waiting to feel it before they moved. The next time you're staring at the thing you keep putting off, waiting for the moment it finally feels right, ask yourself this. What if it's never going to feel right? What are you going to do then? Because that answer, the one you give right now before you feel ready, is the only one that's ever going to matter.